Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of At Home with Jen. I am so thrilled for this interview. I've had the privilege in the last 8 years of interviewing celebrities and public figures, but this one hits heart. I will be speaking today with Rafferty Vogt. He is the son of Richard from Texas from the book Eat, Pray, Love. The book took off internationally. It became a movement thanks to the brilliance and heart and soul and truth of Elizabeth Gilbert. And today, Rafferty is going to share his insights on the lessons he learned from his father and also from his own spiritual practice. So stay tuned as I introduce Rafferty Vogt. So you're together, you're on your practice, you're dealing with the movement of Eat, Pray, Love and everything that's happening. And your father passes in 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Rest in peace. And the movie came out, I believe, in 2010.
Yeah, it did. I think it was mid 2010 or late 2010 or something like that.
Did he miss the movie?
He did miss the actual movie coming out, but he was involved in the production.
Okay.
They had flown him up there to New York a handful of times. He was up there, working with I think Sony Productions was big in that, and it was Richard Jenkins played my father, and he went up there and did some work with them so they could kind of get know the characters and how to portray them. And so he was involved with all the making of it and putting it all together, but not as far as like the actual release of the movie. He wasn't around for that.
And were you happy with the portrayal of your father in the film?
Yes, I sincerely was. I mean, you got to look at like the book, you got endless pages to picture together who he was, right? And then you got a movie, which is Hollywood, right? So what sells better? The love story is going to sell a little better when it comes to Hollywood and Julia Roberts, right?
Right.
But the avid book readers know like that middle section when she was in India was like the pivotal part of the whole story, and where you really knew that character. But I was super glad because they hit the highlights of that time in India. The big points, because it's a bit of a grind when you're putting yourself through the paces, doing sadhana and practices every day. But they really hit the highlights of it, and you didn't miss what that part was of the book in the movie per se.
That's good.
And Richard Jenkins, he was honestly and super sincere about trying to do the best he possibly could, knowing he was up against a big job, because we met him personally and everything. So.
Oh, that's so great. That's so wonderful. I'm happy to hear that you guys were thrilled with the delivery, because it did give us an additional layer of personality through the film, and another reason to fall in love with your dad, right? From a different perspective, in a sense. How do you feel your dad handled the fame of all of this?
I mean, if you could have like kind of a role model how to handle it, like I would say he did. Like he would be the kind of that guy. I mean, he never got too big. Like he honestly didn't change at all. Nothing changed within him. How he operated in the world, how he operated with people he knew, who he didn't know. Like he was just all of a sudden a big, millions of people knew him, but he was still the same guy.
That's great to hear.
And I mean, it was kind of a bit overwhelming, I think, at certain points, because they were wanting books, and he's like, I don't really want to put all that on paper. I did a lot of work to let go of all that stuff. So he wouldn't. I mean, he could have written his own book and gone, pretty well with it. But at the same token, when you've done that kind of spiritual work and gotten to the point where you're at, you're like,
you don't need it.
I really want to pull all that back out the box,
Yeah,
So.
that's right. It's not necessary, right?
Yeah.
You're in a different place.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me, though, again, thrilled to hear that.
Yeah.
He managed it, and he stayed true to the course, shall we say.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your mom, so I want to honor your mom, because she's the goddess in this picture. So, like, name an attribute, a goddess attribute of your mother that, like, throughout everything, like you said, she was the rock. Like, what else can you share about your mom? Because I want to make sure that everybody's highlighted here.
Yeah. My mom, I mean, she was one of a kind. She super eccentric. She was, my parents were hippies, back in the hippie days, and she was marching in Washington, back in the day for the marches, and her personality was like, if you met her, you knew who she was. Like in one meeting, like she was not afraid to tell you anything she wanted to tell you. She had endless amounts of love to give and compassion, and she worked with underprivileged children for years. And I mean, she was one of those people that was always on your side no matter what. She loved the underdog story. Like she would ride it out with you, I mean, just a complete like mother to the world. Like, and I mean, even if I was wrong, she was still like on my side, believing me, like fighting a good fight, and then, I mean, no matter what, she was there. I mean, she did a tough job very well.
Oh, that's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh yeah. And she had recently passed back in late January this year.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I didn't know.
Yeah. So now it's all full circle now. Like they both have passed, and it's kind of, it's been 2020 has been a roller coaster for everybody,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we're able to at least share and spread some of her legacy as well throughout this interview. So I appreciate you sharing those stories with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, you mentioned that your dad, and we saw it in the book and the movie, but you also shared with me, he was known for his one-liners. What was the best one-liner, or give us an example of a few one-liners that you feel have hit home for you?
For me, gosh, I mean, I've probably forgot more of them than I know, just because they've been thrown at me since I was a kid. Like it was like just English language in my house, and I would repeat them to people, and they're just like, "What? What are you?" I didn't know they didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, there were so many of them. I mean, all the things like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And he's like, there's no this without that. In reference to like, if you put your spiritual world together, that you can't get this without that. So always taking care of that spiritual world, then you got this. Like there's no this without that. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? But the more I just believed in it and delved into it in the process, they became realities for me, and he was always big, about, I used to call him all worried and freaked out. I dealt with a lot of anxiety and fears, and I guess now they have like a nice word they call mental health. But me, it was just fear and just my own misery is all it was. It wasn't anything unique or special. It was like, I would call him carrying on about something. He'd be like, well, if you worry, don't pray. If you pray, don't worry. Oh my God. But he was right. What he was teaching me was like being able to detach from stuff. Like,
yes,
he lived a life of detachment, which all those little one-liners he was laying on me always kind of will just put a little space between everything. So I could detach a little bit to where, and that's how he lived every day, was pretty detached from the internal world to the external world, so he could just kind of live baseline. But trying to think of all the one-liners, I mean, those three were kind of always in my head.
That's good. That's core. So with the one-liners and your own spiritual practice, like, what does that mean to you, like today, like on a daily basis? How do you practice your spirituality?
Yeah, that's good, because I think what really helped with all the one-liners, it's able to, like, when stuff starts happening or inside something starts, internally I'm getting twisted up on something, they're just right there. They speak louder than whatever else is speaking, within my mind. Like, they're just like, I'm going through a situation or trying to figure something out. Like, they just come out of me, it's like a voice within me, so to speak, that, I don't know if you want to call it a sixth sense or whatever, but I just come up with them. Or even when I'm in a situation with somebody, when we're hanging out or talking about something, the biggest thing they do is that they provide clarity, which my dad was always big about. He's like, ask for help, trying to, with clarity, how to see it for what it is, and so those one-liners, they provide a lot of clarity for me, basically what they do. At the end of the day, just clarity. And my spiritual practices, I mean, it's an everyday thing. we went through a lot of programs together. And so I do a Kriya yoga in the mornings, which is about 45 minutes. Kriya yoga is a process with the breath, a yoga process with the breath that works with your own energies, your life energies, your internal life energies. So I do that yoga in the morning. There's a couple meditations throughout the day. And then I got another one I do in the evening, which I've been doing for, 13, 14 years now.
That's amazing.
And because I watched him do it, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like, there's proof in the pudding there, so to speak. So
yeah, so those one-liners maybe keep you moving in a daily practice as well. They kind of aid you.
Yeah, they bring that clarity, and they kind of nurture that process, and they just keep me moving, keep me motivated. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of priceless to me. It's hard to describe all the ways that they affect me, but
They're a part of you.
Yeah.
They're ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you could give one piece of advice that your dad, you've given a lot, but I'm going to ask this question. If there's one piece of advice that you feel that your dad has shared that could be sent out to the world right now, like what would that one big piece of advice be?
Oh man, that's a big one.
It is.
From my dad's perspective and growing up with him and maturing with him spiritually, really be able to, if you look outside what's going on in the world, there's a lot of crazy stuff right now. This year's been different, it's that inner manageability, having that toolkit, laying into the spiritual practices daily, just grinding through those, because internally his only way, he's always big on like, the only way to peace is inside. Like, this is an inside job. This whole deal's an inside job, but it's, it's undoing what's already done at the same token. And I'll just be like, what? I was baffled. But his biggest advice would definitely be, work on yourself internally every day, and that way you can get that detachment from all the things that are on in the real world. And you can really have that clarity to see for what it is, and that attitude of gratitude was always ingrained in me. So the gratitude is huge in all of this, that daily gratitude of everything you got and what's working for you, what's not working for you. So it's kind of a lot, but, in that, so to speak, just working on yourself inside, having that gratitude, getting to, a detachment from the outside world, the inside world, and just living on a plane versus being pulled every which direction, if that makes any sense.
It does make absolute sense. And I'm so grateful. And I want to say thank you, because I could literally talk to you just all day long. So I want to appreciate all of your time and your wisdom and your insights today. And I feel like I have a newfound friend, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah, likewise.
Who speaks the same language and comes from the heart. And I want people to be able to find you and your own wisdom and what you share on Instagram. So what is your Instagram handle? And that's the only platform I believe you're on right now, correct?
Yeah, Instagram is my basic platform. It's a Rafferty Vogt, is where you're going to find me on Instagram. I have a hashtag, which is a hashtag #MeetRaf, but you'll find me at home. I'm always cooking stuff. And
you make me hungry, Rafferty.
Yeah. My sense of humor is rather sarcastic, and I like to have a lot of fun and joke around. I got a lot of that from my dad and my mom at the same token. Never being too serious, just having fun with things. So,
well, I've had fun with you today, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
me
for
too.
brightening up my day. Thank you. Stay safe and be well. And thanks to everyone watching. We appreciate you for another episode of At Home with Jen.
Likewise. Thank you, Jen.